Perkara yang tidak dapat dilakukan telah berlaku. The inevitable has happened. It's officially now the end for Harimau Malaya as far as the 2027 AFC Asian Cup qualifying is concerned. After the AFC released their disciplinary committee's decision on the two games in question that happened last year, at this stage of the campaign where they were found to have fielded ineligible players. And as a result, Malaysia's opening 2-0 win over Nepal on the 25th of March 2025, and more significantly, their 4-0 win over Vietnam at the Bukit Jalil National Stadium on the 10th of June 2025 have now been overturned into 0-3 defeats. As a result, Vietnam have now progressed into the Asian Cup finals, which will be held in Saudi Arabia in January 2027, while Malaysia see their qualification campaign end after this stage, confirmed to have finished second in their qualifying group. So you can say in reverse, salam takziah Malaysia football. But this comes at the back of the Court of Arbitration of Sports upholding the original decision by the FIFA Disciplinary Committee where they found the Persatuan Bola Sepak Malaysia or FAM culpable for fielding ineligible players in those two games, especially in that 4-0 that former 4-0 win against Vietnam on the 10th of June. That win was supposed to have ended 11 years of failing to beat Southeast Asia's strongest nation in that period. But now, instead, with that 0-3 reversal, this streak, this unwanted streak continues. And FAM and Malaysian football got a field day on social media, not just by Malaysians who were critical and were not surprised by what they saw, but also from those online netizens, particularly from Vietnam and Indonesia, who rubbed salt into the wound into Malaysia's downfall. A case of where trying to take a shortcut to reach to the next level has gone one turn too many. Now, in this context, before I move further, the seven players who were found guilty of falsifying their birth documents of their grandparents in the wake of this documentation scandal at Kelana Jaya by FAM were João Figueiredo, Hector Havel, John Irazabal, Rodrigo Hogaldo, Emmanuel Machucha, Facundo Garques, and Gabriel Palermo. And as a result, FM was handed a huge fine by FIFA, and now FM are also going to be fined USD $50,000 to for fielding such ineligible players. Hector Havel was fielded in both those games in questions, while the rest featured prominently, particularly Figueiredo and Holgado, who scored in that game against Vietnam. As a result, their final qualifier against Vietnam away is academic. It doesn't matter whether Flamowski is going to rally his troops to win 5-0, 6-0 away in Vietnam. It doesn't matter now. Because no matter what, Vietnam now has all 15 points from five games, while Malaysia, with those two new defeats, are confined to just 9 points. So Vietnam now join Indonesia and Singapore as the three Southeast Asian national teams to feature in the upcoming Asian Cup finals in Saudi Arabia. And looking ahead now, we will first look at two areas. First, how this final nail in the coffin by the AFC concludes those months long saga, especially in the forgery of the birth certificates that led to such an explosion in international football scandal that not only rocked Southeast Asia but the entire world, especially in the age where national teams are not averse to getting foreign born players who have lineage to the other country that they were that they are now affiliated to. And FIFA has had to deal with those cases previously, particularly one from Ecuador, and more notoriously until Malaysia came along, Equatorial Guinea for both the men and the women's national teams. And now Malaysia will now be known for at this moment as the case study on how not to illegally naturalize players. And there are a few takeaways from this. Sabtu, well, all seven have proven to have no biological relationship with the country, whether it's through their parents or grandparents, as mandated by FIFA regulations when they want this player to switch nationality from their birth nation to the nation they want to represent. This means that fast track citizenship, as had happened in the lead up to those seven players who boosted the national team momentarily, but they also but it doesn't equate to the regulations that makes them eligible in FIFA's eyes when it comes to national team competitions. And more crucially, with those seven players illegally fielded, Malaysia inevitably harmed what it really meant to be the spirit of international football, because under current FIFA regulations, international football is supposed to be separate from club football, where there are no transfer fees, where players who are called up to the national team have to be eligible, whether it's through citizenship or through residency requirements, and are usually stricter than those in many other sports outside of football. And that's where they got a two-track factor where it comes in when it comes to the citizenship, which ironically FAM managed to do it so well previously, whether it was the first heritage recruit in Brendan Gunn or subsequently through the likes of Lavia Corbin Ong, Dion Kus, Matthew Davis, those guys who have Malaysian parent or grandparents, or those who have gone through the 5 year residency requirements and are committed to become Malaysians, whether it was Paulo Jose, Romel Morales, or Muhammad Sumare, Endrick, or even the much maligned Guilherme de Paula. But all these documentations have been, you can say, to a large extent done properly until those seven came along. And these seven came as part of the supposed revolution of the Harimau Malaya project, which was aimed to lift the standards of Malaysia in international football to the next level, supposedly to be better than what Kim Panggon, Faisal Halim, Arif Aiman, Dion Kus, and the rest have done in the 2023 Asian Cup finals, where they earned 1 point from 3 matches in the group stage, having qualified for the first time in more than 40 years. And this exclude the 2007 Asian Cup finals, which Malaysia co-hosted as one of the four hosts and did the worst among the four. Now, in that regard, it is pretty much a shame with that Malaysia or Harimau Malaya are unable to build on what former national head coach Kim Panggon had done in getting these naturalized players, these heritage players, and also the locals to mold together into an effective team to play in this tournament. Now, and as a result of this, there are now burning questions to be asked, because the punishment that AFC has thrown at FAM raises a few noteworthy immediate futures. While it is like highly certain that current Harimau Malaya head coach Peter Flamowski will take charge of Malaysia in their now academic final qualifier against Vietnam away, will he still commit to the project after 31st of March? considering that he has now technically failed to help Malaysia qualify, no thanks to the breach of regulations by the forces above his remit, above his control, then it is possible, but which I will say, take away all the dark clouds of scandal aside, the part on what Flamowski has done is, if we look at the results alone before they were overturned in the past year 2025, Flamowski actually did an incredible job. The Australian Macedonian descent was able to get the team together, the especially when Harimau Malaya failed to perform well in the first half but somehow came out all guns firing in the second half. This was during the scandal. This was after the seven players were not allowed to be fielded, were suspended from playing all football during that period last year, and he could still push the team to keep winning and keep pushing. And perhaps, even though qualification is out of the window, but Flamowski will want to prove that beating Vietnam in that 4-0 with those seven players and beating Vietnam with the players that he will be calling up, they are no fluke, which means he want to show that he still has the tactical knowers, the know-how to how to beat Vietnam, to know how to beat Vietnam no matter the circumstances. And that would cement his own reputation as a great tactician, as an excellent taskmaster, and as a good man manager of the personnel that he's given, whatever the situation. But the deeper question goes, will Flamowski stay on to lead Harimau Malaya into the ASEAN Championship, or now better known, thanks to sponsorship, the ASEAN Hyundai Cup, where with Asian Cup qualification now out of the window, that mission will now be to win the ASEAN Championship, which Malaysia has not won since their only title triumph under Datuk K. Rajagopal in 2010. Will he want to be there to lead them into this mission before looking for other pursuits elsewhere? This will be the one big question to look out for. Secondly, is this Harimau Malaya project where the Tunku Mahkota of Johor is the facilitator dead? I mean, is that project dead? Tak ada. Highly unlikely. Unless the key players in this project, such as the current Harimau Malaya CEO, Rob Friend, or Dr. Craig Duncan, and other foreign members of this particular backroom staff and technical team leave. Only when they leave, then yes, this project is completely over. But otherwise, for now, not yet. The answer is really not yet. And there's one burning question where I will wrap up. There are quite a number of foreign netizens who are asking, why is Malaysia not kicked out of 2031 Asian Cup qualifying campaign? The answer is very simple and it's drawn from the AFC Disciplinary and Ethics Rulebook, where in Article 56.3, where it's stated that, I think I will read here, if the offense of ineligible players is discovered after the completion of a competition, the judicial body may additionally order that the team be excluded from a future competition or the deduction of points from a future competition. And I'm sure those Southeast Asian netizens will say, hey, Malaysia cheated, they used seven players. Why are you not banning them from this? Wait, wait. Because, first, even though there's one more round of the final round of the AFC Asian Cup qualification for 2027 still to play. It's not yet finished yet. The last game, the last set of games are set to be played on the 31st of March, and we are not there yet. So, Malaysia is being punished now while the competition is technically still going on. So, unlike the Timor-Leste case where the punishments were handed out after a number of tournaments had been completed involving the ineligible Brazilian players, which was more than a decade ago. So, in short, sorry to disappoint those netizens from Malaysia, from Indonesia and Vietnam, there will be no suspension and Malaysia will still compete in the 2031 Asian Cup qualification campaign. So that settles the case and is under Article 56.3. And that's it. So with that, I think it's time for all to still chew on what has happened in this aftermath, which has not surprised many Malaysians, which has had some celebrations, but especially to the Vietnamese, sorry to disappoint you, but Malaysia will still be competing in 2031 Asian Cup because the AFC rules say so. Article 56.3.